Hello, Basic Brian here, and I am going to go over some pickups today that I did for Record Store Day this past 20th and the day before, the 19th, which this album came out, the Tortured Poets Department. Okay, I got it right. The new Taylor Swift, and also this cassette I got on Record Store Day, Genesis Invisible Touch on cassette. And I also got this bizarre The Birds collection on Castle Communications. This is a bizarre CD, because it has the latest iteration lineup of the Birds, and they're probably only on one song on here. But the Birds are always kind of a hard band to get all the photos right, especially for the whole era, unless it's at first greatest hits. But then you don't even have Gene Clark on it, but he's on basically all the tracks, or maybe like 70% of the tracks. But yeah, I bought this because I don't have one of my favorite Bird songs on CD, and I don't have the Notorious Bird Brothers on CD, so I could put this on a computer and put it on a phone to listen to. And my favorite Bird song from that album is probably going back the Coffin King song, Carole King written track. But yeah, this was really cheap, and it's from the 80s, so it's kind of an amusing cover, but really good track list, 20 tracks, holy cow. Career spanning, basically. Well, the last track is from like, I don't know. It's not quite career spanning, but it starts pretty early and goes pretty far to the Untitled album. So, and there's a lot of great tracks, and it's kind of like, they kind of pick some weird deep cuts like Draft Morning, Girl with No Name, Chestnut Mare. Well, that's probably greatest hits material, but It Won't Be Wrong. So there's some interesting choices that are on here that aren't really hits, but they're good tracks. Everybody's Been Burned, that's interesting. And it opens with Lady Friend, which isn't even like an album track. I don't know if it was a hit, but it's one of their best songs, but it's relatively hard to find. And so I did get this one. Probably a little humiliating to some of my cousins and people who don't like Swifties or Taylor Swift, but I'm a little basic. I kind of like Taylor Swift. I'm not like a huge fan. I do enjoy this album. I want to listen to it more. I like what I've heard, but interesting, cool cover. Yep. This is a double album on white vinyl. I think this is the basic version. And apparently she released a whole another album besides this double album. I guess 15 or 16 additional songs, which aren't on here. But that's okay for me, because this is kind of overwhelming as it is for me. It's kind of a basic Taylor Swift fan. And I got another Poco album, Indian Summer. And this is actually the last one with Timothy B. Smith and their original drummer, Grantham, I think his last name is. I can't remember what his first name is. I just listened to it once. It's pretty good. And I got Cheap Trick, Heaven Tonight, maybe their best album. I really need to listen to Cheap Trick again. I'm most familiar with Dream Police, but maybe some of their At Budokan, which I don't have anymore, but yeah. And the next one, I was kind of hoping to get the Record Store edition, but at the same time, I just wanted the basic version. I got this at Irving Place the day I got Taylor Swift. The the Tortured Poets Department, and this is no other a very cult classic-y Gene Clark solo album. And there's also a release for some alternate takes of this album that were released on Record Store Day, but I did not procure that. I did not find a copy. And the next one is an actual Record Store exclusive release, probably the only one I got. And I think it came out last November, but this is a interesting lineup of the Flying Burrito Brothers that actually have two late era Byrds members in it that are actually on that Byrds collection. Both of them are on there. Gene Parsons, is it plural? Yep, Parsons, yep. And Skip Batten as the rhythm section, with Sneaky Pete on pedal steel, very famous session player, and some guys that I haven't heard of, but they took on the Flying Burrito Brothers as Graham Parsons passed away and Bernie Lennon left and Chris Hillman. But this is a good time, a show in New York City. I enjoyed listening to it. I definitely need to listen to it more. So yeah, I'm a big fan of all the Byrds era, so I was like, I really want to buy this, and I did. And it's an exclusive release. It's the only one I got in Kenosha at CD Warehouse. And the next thing I have, I think it's the last thing I gotta show off, is this random jazz compilation that I got for $1. $64,000 jazz. This is just interesting to me because it's hard for me to invest in a jazz album usually because I'm not huge into jazz, so it's nice to get a little sampler. There's a lot of big bandy kind of stuff on here too, and it's not something I want to invest a lot of money in, but a lot of familiar players. Even Louis Armstrong himself, Sarah Vaughan, you see Dave Brubeck a lot, he's on here. Woody Herman, I think he's an earlier big band guy. Benny Goodman, Duke Ellington, so a lot of big names, and some names I've never heard of. So this is going to be a fun listen and explorative thing to have and see if I like it and if I want more. I don't know why it's called this. I didn't read there's a lot of liner notes. Some pretty cool stuff. Jazz liner notes are more intellectual too, and especially from this era, so this is some sweet stuff. They don't quite do this kind of stuff anymore. Even as a person who is frustrated reading certain liner notes, like, oh, this is I don't know what this means, what are they referencing and all that. It's kind of more interesting now as an older person, and it's not something that you find in new releases anymore when there's liner notes. Usually it's briefer. And the last thing I want to show off is one of the record stores, the other record store I went to, Irving Place Records, which just opened, there was a passing of the baton between Bullseye Records and Irving Place Records. So definitely go to Irving Place Records if you are in Wisconsin or in the Milwaukee area. Highly recommended. And those are basically my recent pickups. Just show this off because it's kind of far off. A Weird Invisible Touch on cassette. One of the most basic Genesis releases, but still a good one. Still a little prog touches here and there. What did you get on Record Store Day? Did you go out? I went to one more record store myself, but it was just so crowded and so late that I didn't buy anything there. The line was just way too long. And that is Volta Records in Greenfield, Wisconsin. With that, let me know if you got anything Record Store Day or anything recent you got. If you have anything to say about what I got, how I'm basic or shill or a simp or something for Taylor Swift, whatever you want to say. I might delete it if it's too too destructive or just kind of unhelpful, just an ad hominem, but please feel free to comment if you want. It's up to you though. All the best. To me, most days are record store day, but I decided to go out. All the best.